And definitely the volunteer service here in the UK asks you to have a specific skill to kind of go over somewhere if you're, especially if you have a specific skill to go and help, so that you really are helping in a place that needs it. Because I know that the Americans have a system, I think it's called the Peace Corps. I'm fairly confident it is. Yeah. It's a big deal for a lot of people, and they save up for many years. I don't know how old you have to be to go and do it. And then kind of you get a lot of training and you go out and really, really help. And unfortunately, we don't have that same system here in the UK. Kind of the volunteer service thing really asks you to have a specific skill, which I think is unfortunate and maybe also a good thing at the same time. It's definitely one of those double-edged swords, I think, volunteering abroad.
Yeah. It's kind of, I suppose one of the ways of thinking about volunteerism is that it kind of helps you think of places that you would not otherwise think of. So you would probably not go volunteering to Japan, but you could go volunteering to Ecuador, right? Like you mentioned. So maybe Ecuador wasn't on your wish list, and this opportunity opens up and it kind of makes you think about, okay, maybe I can spend a month or spend a few weeks volunteering in Ecuador. And since I'm there, and it's on the, at least for me, it's on the other side of the planet, it'll be worth my while to spend a week or two to travel and see, what's different about Ecuador compared to Singapore. But I also think that if people want to genuinely, if their first priority and their first intention is to travel, this is just my personal view, I think the best way to still finance your travels is to save up on your regular expenses. So you find the cheapest ticket, so you don't care about the transit, how long the transits are. And if you're going for just like a weekend trip, then I get it. Okay, you don't want to transit for 6 hours for a 3-day long weekend trip. But if you're going for 2 weeks, you save up on cheap flight tickets. You go for guest houses instead of hotels. You go for hostels instead of hotels. And you save up in terms of, right, okay, so one of the things that, again, we keep coming back to Kyrgyzstan because everybody loves Kyrgyzstan. So I remember that when I was there and like, lo and behold, I found out that, the World Nomad Games are taking place. And I had no freaking clue that the World Nomad Games were taking place there. And one of the events was in a valley that was really far from the main city. And if I had taken a taxi by myself, say again?
It was in Kherchen Valley.
Yeah, Kherchen Valley, right? And if I had taken a taxi all by myself and as a clearly non-Kyrgyz face, I would have probably got ripped off. And I was very fortunate that I managed to find a travel buddy from the hostel itself and I think there were at least 3 of us who managed to share a taxi ride. And these are like good old tricks that you can use to finance your trip. But having said that, I have a lot of respect for people who are like bloggers and vloggers, and there are these brilliant YouTubers who genuinely finance their travels through creating great content. I know I can't do that. I don't think I have the patience or the skill to do that. But I don't know. The easy way out is just to, just spend less money. I don't know. It doesn't seem that complicated to me.
Yeah, well, before I share with my thoughts, I want to give a shout out to Ringo's Guest House in Malaysia, Malacca, where I volunteered, and also Negar Guest House, Guest House in Varzan, Iran. So, I actually, agree with you in some way, Azi, that it's good to save up on regular expenses. I remember a story of one Thai girl who wasn't drinking, the bubble tea for 1 month, and she saved like $200 or $300. So I think it's
love bubble tea. How can you give it up?
So that's a great way, I think, to save up. Also, of course, like as you're working, to save up from work. But people who are working and traveling, I think, for example, if they are making something or if they play some kind of instrument, I've met quite a few musicians. I think it's okay. I mean, as long as they're doing something in order to sell their skills, it's a free market. So, I mean, I think it doesn't matter. Like, even if it's not a local person, local or not local, whoever likes the music or whoever likes the things that this traveler made, I think if he or she wants to buy, why not? But but what is annoying for me is when travelers, they sit somewhere and then they say, I have no money, please help me. In that case, I'm like, for me, I don't know, it's a little bit annoying. I think, well, if you don't have money, why don't you just go back home, earn more money, and then come back? Because it kind of makes, I think, obligation. I remember one guy, I don't remember which country he was, but he was in the south and he had this sign. So kind of local people felt obligated in order to take him to their home. He spent, I think, a week with them. And then they contacted the embassy, and then he was deported back to his country.
Why was he deported?
Because, he didn't have any money, and then, I don't know, he didn't save enough. He was, trying to gather more as he was sitting, but maybe he didn't have enough. I'm not sure. Or maybe locals, because he was a foreigner and he couldn't explain. So the locals thought that, he needs help. So they contacted the embassy, and then the embassy decided that he needs to go back. I'm not sure. But this kind of when I see travelers, I don't feel like helping them because they ran out of money.
Yeah, definitely. If you run out of money, just like you would back home, try and find a way of making it. Or I guess if you absolutely can't for some reason work, maybe because you're not comfortable doing illegal work for kind of cash in hand, or visas are way too complicated.
Especially now, there are so many opportunities where you can work or volunteer and just get free accommodation, free meals. I think there are so many opportunities that you can do even without money. So,
So there's two perspectives, right? So Ivo, you mentioned something interesting that at least even on a personal level, I share your sentiment that, hey, if you're, let's say, playing the guitar, or if you're making beautiful armbands or bracelets, and you're a willing seller, I'm a willing buyer, then I'm happy to pay whatever it is, and then I'll move on with my life as a local, and you hopefully can sponsor your travel. However, we have to be respectful of the local laws, regardless of whether we agree with the local laws or not. And some countries take this issue very, very seriously. And I personally, I like to treat myself as a second-class citizen when I'm in a foreign country, not because I have less dignity than the locals, but because it's just like I'm in someone else's house. So I need to wash my steps, I need to wash my words, I need to wash my activity, and to make sure that I'm playing by the house rules, right? So if the house rules suggest that, nope, I cannot be earning any kind of money, whether it's on the street playing the guitar or working in a bar, if the local laws say that that's impermissible, then at least I personally feel you should not do that, even if you disagree that, no, this is free market, I have a valuable service to give, why not? I would personally not recommend violating local laws, because you're in somebody else's house, right? Regardless of your personal values.
Yeah, I can see that.
If it's useful to volunteer and you want to do that, absolutely do that to save money, or just spend a bit of time out, basically, rather than constantly being on the road and looking at all of the whatever museums and nice shiny things. Definitely to get kind of a closer feel and cultural experience, I think. In the
sorry, in response to your I don't know, statement, Vicky, I just wanted to add, for example, I see why you are not very positive about volunteering, but for example, I've had quite a few volunteers, and even on a farm, when you have a volunteer who is volunteering for I don't know, let's say 5 hours a day, and usually the skills that volunteers have and locals have, they are very different. And the volunteer, I think it will take him really long time if he really wants to replace a local volunteer or local worker. First, he doesn't speak the local language. Second, he doesn't know the culture. And third, it's, I don't know, I think the working principles differ as well. It's very rare case. For example, in my case also, I run a hostel, and then I have volunteers quite often. It's like usually the way you work with volunteers is different with how you work with local people, because their skills are different, their mentalities, like the way they think is very different. So for me, it's very different people, like they cannot replace each other.
Yeah, definitely. I guess the volunteers are just there short term, aren't they? So they're obviously going to have a different mindset.
Exactly. If the farmer is really serious about his business, I think he will not give like this kind of manual job to volunteer, because you can use the volunteer in a different way. Most of the volunteers, I've been quite lucky, they're quite good with marketing, for example, with photography, something that locals, for example, are not that good at.
For full episodes, go to solopacker.com.